Hey, welcome! Today we're jumping into a really powerful, super practical tool that can help kids navigate tricky social situations. It's called a social story, and what's great is that we're walking through a guide that was put together by a parent who has been right there, in the thick of it. So this is a toolkit that comes from real-world personal experience. Let's dive in and see how it works.
You know, I wanted to start with this quote because it just gets right to the heart of everything, doesn't it? This is a feeling that so many parents and caregivers know. That mix of hope and love, but also that deep worry about your child's future. And it's exactly this feeling that makes us search for tools that can actually genuinely help. So this really gets to the why behind this whole guide. The author's journey is just such a powerful reminder that sometimes the most effective, most amazing solutions come from a place of deep, personal understanding.
So, meet Candace Jones. She's the parent behind this guide. When her son was diagnosed, she was, thrown into this whirlwind of uncertainty. But she took all that and turned it into a mission to find and share practical resources, like social stories, to help empower other families who might be feeling just as lost as she once did.
Okay, so now that we get the personal why behind all this, let's get into the what. What exactly is a social story?
At its core, you can think of a social story as just a gentle guide. It is not about forcing a certain behavior. Not at all. It's really a way to give clear, reassuring information to a child in a way they can totally understand. And what that does is it helps reduce their anxiety and really builds up their confidence.
And this is the ultimate goal, right here. It's about helping a child move from feeling confused and overwhelmed to a place of clarity and understanding. It's all about empowerment. By explaining what's coming and offering some ideas on how to respond, we're helping them develop their own skills for self-awareness and self-management.
All right, so you're thinking, okay, I'm ready to make one. This is the part that might feel a little intimidating, but I promise it really doesn't have to be. We're going to break it all down into a super simple 7-step checklist that's basically your blueprint for success.
It's the big question, isn't it? You can see the potential, but what's the very first thing you need to be thinking about before you even write a single word?
Okay, this right here, this is the golden rule. It's the mindset you have to have. Your story should feel like a safe, helpful preview of something that's gonna happen, not a list of commands. It's all about describing a situation to make things clear, not about dictating how someone should act. Getting this right is absolutely key.
Now this slide is really interesting because it breaks down the actual building blocks of a great social story. So you can see we have 2 types of sentences. First, there are descriptive ones, which kind of set the scene. Then you have coaching sentences, which offer a strategy. The real magic here is the balance. The guide suggests a 2-to-1 ratio, so at least 2 descriptive sentences for every 1 coaching sentence. Why is that so important? Well, it makes sure the story is there to inform and empower, rather than just command.
So here are the 6 core steps from the guide. Let's walk through them real quick. First up, step 1, pick one single topic. Don't try to solve everything at once. Step 2, write it from your child's point of view using I statements. Step 3, keep the language simple and positive. Step 4, remember that super important balance of descriptive and coaching sentences we just talked about. Step 5, make sure to include feelings to help build emotional literacy. And finally, step 6, add some pictures or visuals to make the story more engaging and easier to grasp.
And last but not least, the step that brings it all home, practice. A social story is not a one-and-done thing. You've got to read it often, especially right before the event it's talking about. That repetition is what helps the ideas really stick and make a difference.
All right, theory is great, but seeing this stuff in action is way better. So now we're going to look at a few practical templates to show you exactly how these steps come together to make a really powerful story.
And just look at the range here. This slide shows you just how versatile this tool can be. I mean, the topics go from everyday stuff like daily routines all the way to more complex social situations like managing emotions or even handling bullying. You can adapt a social story for pretty much any situation your child might run into.
So let's start with the classic, daily routines, right? They can be a common point of friction. A social story can bring a predictable, calming structure to the start of the day, which can be a total game changer.
See what's happening in this line from the template? It's bringing in feelings and reactions. That was step 5 from our checklist, remember? It connects the child's action not just to getting a task done, but to a positive emotional outcome for other people, which can be incredibly meaningful.
Okay, new experiences. Think about a trip to the grocery store. It can be a sensory overload for a lot of kids. This next template shows how a story can prep a child for that environment and give them a clear plan.
Now, this is a perfect example of a coaching sentence. It doesn't just say, hold mom's hand. It explains why, to feel safe and calm. It gives both the action and the reason behind it, which hands the child a real tool for self-regulation.
Okay, using social stories for emotional regulation. This is an incredibly powerful way to use them. They can give kids the actual language and strategies to understand and manage their own big feelings. And that is just such a foundational skill for life.
And wow, this line right here is so important. It gives the child the exact words they can use to advocate for what they need. It empowers them to ask for help in a calm, specific way, connecting that big feeling they're having to a solution that actually works.
So we've covered the why, the what, and the how. We've seen the theory, and we've seen it in practice. So now it's your turn to put all this into action.
You know, the whole point of this guide was to help you move from feeling uncertain to feeling ready to act. You now have the checklist, you have the principles, you've seen the examples, you have that foundational toolkit to start creating a story that is perfectly tailored to your child.
And that really brings us to the final thought. The real power of this tool is that it's personal. So the only question left is this. When you look at your child's world, their challenges, their strengths, what's the first story they need to hear?